Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm gonna see if I can beat Terraria using spears only. Hope you enjoy. Alright, to start things off, I chopped some really tall trees for some wood. I went down a cave and got my first weapon, just a regular spear. While I was underground, I found some pretty useful things, like a heart statue and Hermes boots. I also found feral claws, which is going to be really useful since it gives auto swing to all melee weapons. The next weapon I was searching for is the storm spear, but after opening many desert chests, I was unable to find one. So instead, I went to the ocean and found myself a trident. I also forgot to mention, I was very fortunate enough to get not one, not two, not three, but 4 heart statues. These are going to be really useful for maintaining my health. After getting a decent amount of health, I summoned the Eye of Cthulhu. I really wanted to find the storm spear since it shot out projectiles, but it was taking way too long, so I had to get up close and personal with the boss. After defeating the Eye of Cthulhu, I went down to Corruption and summoned the Eater of Worlds. This boss did take a very long time to beat though, since the trident has very little damage. After the Eater of Worlds was defeated, with the Demonite bars and Shadow Scales, I made the full Shadow Armor that gives 21% melee attack speed. And then at night, I went over to the dungeon and made an arena to fight Skeletron. The only time I was able to get in some good hits was when it did its spinning attack. The other times, I just focused on dodging its hands. After defeating Skeletron, I went down the dungeon and found myself the Cobalt Shield, as well as the Shadow Key to get my next weapon. I got back home and started mining towards Hell. After reaching Hell, I searched for some Shadow Chests, and after opening a few, I found my next weapon, the Dark Lance. After that, I mined some Hellstone and created the full Molten Armor set. I went back down to Hell and started building a bridge to fight the Wall of Flesh. I also farmed some demons until I got the Guide Voodoo doll. After getting the doll, I ran to the end of my bridge and summoned the Wall of Flesh. Afterwards, I destroyed some demon altars at the Corruption to summon the hard mode ores. I then mined some cobalt, orichalcum, and then finally titanium. I got back home and made the full titanium armor, as well as the titanium trident. Afterwards, I went down underground to find my last life crystal. I needed some wings to stop fall damage and for the obvious better mobility, so I went up to the Sky Island and killed some wyverns for their souls of flight. With the Souls of Flight, I made demon wings. In the morning, when the mechanic respawned, I bought some wires from her and hooked up my 4 heart statues. At night, I was about to summon the Destroyer, but then I got the message, the air is getting colder around you, which meant Skeletron Prime was about to spawn. So I'd figure I'd just fight this one first. It was very unfortunate that all the spears that I have didn't shoot out any projectiles, so like before, I have to get up close and personal with all the bosses. This boss took me a whole 5 minutes to beat, and just like Skeletron, the only times where I got in some good hits was when I did its spinning attack. Right after I killed Skeletron Prime, I summoned the Destroyer right away, even though it was about to turn to day. The reason why I did this was because the Spear is an extremely good weapon to use against worm-type bosses, and mobs as well, like the Wyvern for example. After defeating the Destroyer, I made the GUNGNIR using some of my hollowed bars. There was nothing else to do other than fight the twins. So to speed things up, I slept on my bed for night to come faster. When it was night, I summoned the twins. And my usual plan is to kill the green one first, and then the red. Now that all 3 mechanical bosses are defeated, I made the pickaxe axe and the full hollowed armor set. Right when I was about to head over to the jungle, a goblin army came, so I had to deal with that first. After I took care of the army, I went down the jungle and mined some chlorophyte ores. With the chlorophyte, I made it into my next weapon, the chlorophyte partisan, which is a spear that shoots out poison clouds. Finally, a spear that shoots out projectiles. I went back down the jungle and found the Plantera bulb, so I decided to blow up an area for the arena. When I was finished making the arena, I broke the Plantera bulb to summon Plantera. With this new spear that shoots out projectiles, it was a lot easier to keep a good distance away to deal damage. The first phase of Plantera was really easy, all I had to do was just fly around in circles. The next thing I did was build a mushroom biome up on the surface to summon the truffle NPC. This NPC sells the next weapon that I will need, which is the mushroom spear. When the truffle spawned, I went to it and bought the spear. This spear summons 7 spinning mushrooms that hang in midair. I then summoned the frost moon. And let me tell you, this was an absolute disaster. I never realized just how hard this event was, because it took me so many hits just to kill a regular mob. So I ended up not being able to see even the Ice Queen to get my next weapon, which is supposed to be the North Pole. But that never happened, so instead I went to the jungle and summoned the golem. After defeating Golem, I went straight to the dungeon to summon the Lunatic Cultist. I really wanted to use the Mushroom Spear, but the weapon just ended up not being good at all. The spinning mushrooms barely did any damage. After beating that boss, I went to get my last weapon, which is made by using the solar fragments. Once I destroyed the solar pillar, I got the fragments and went back home to make the Daybreak. When a spear hits an enemy, it sticks onto them, dealing damage over time, and when it expires, it explodes, dealing damage in the area. I went on to kill the last 2 remaining pillars, the Stardust pillar and the Vortex pillar. Now it's time for the final boss. So this time I don't really have any good vertical mobility, such as having the Queen's Slime Mount or the Duke Fishron wings. So the only way for me to dodge its laser attack is to teleport back home. And we're done. I beat Terraria using spears only. Hope you guys liked the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up, comment down below on which challenge I should do next, and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching once again, and see you next time. Peace.